all is not well between Macron and Meloni. Here's why. Vantage with Palki Sharma. Warm grins, bear embraces, and even some birthday celebrations were exchanged. Even though the leaders of the G7 put up a display of togetherness this week, it was not all sunshine and roses. Regarding abortion rights, the G7 appeared to be quite divided, even though they were united in Ukraine, because the word abortion was not included in this year's statement. It is believed that Italy was the one responsible for this behavior. That did not appear to be well received by the group as a whole. Macron, the president of France, and Draghi, the prime minister of Italy, even got into a heated argument over it. In the next report, we will provide you with the specifics. And if appearances could kill, this would be the one. In Brindisi, it was the evening of the dinner arranged by the G7. The location was a castle in Swabian territory. It was a special event that included all of the G7 leaders. Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, and Mario Draghi, the prime minister of Italy, who was hosting the event, did not have a harmonious relationship with one another. Her appearance of deterioration was indisputable evidence that it has been blown out of proportion, according to Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, because of a dispute that is alleged to have arisen over the lack of the word abortion in a statement issued by the G7. Following the fact that a pledge made by the G7 nations the previous year to address access to safe and legal abortion was omitted from the final statement at this year's summit in Italy, she released the reaction. There have been reports that France and the United States have been engaged in a diplomatic tug-of-war with Italy on whether or not to reference abortion in the final statement on the matter. Earlier, French President Emmanuel Macron expressed his regret over the absence and stated that France had decided to enshrine the right to abortion in the constitution of the country. However, he stated that the Italians did not have the same sensibilities as France. Ms. Meloni, on the other hand, stated in a press conference that she held on Saturday that she believed the controversy to be totally contrived and that there had been nothing to quarrel about during the summit. In the statement that was issued after the summit that took place in the city of Hiroshima in Japan the previous year, it was said, "We reaffirm our full commitment to achieving comprehensive SRHR sexual and reproductive health and rights for all, including by addressing access to safe and legal abortion and post-abortion care." The statement issued this year in comparison stated, "We reiterate our commitments in the Hiroshima leaders' communique to universal access to adequate, affordable, and quality health services for women, including comprehensive sexual and reproductive health and rights for all." According to Ms. Meloni, the reason for the elimination of references to abortion in the more recent material was perfectly normal and an attempt to prevent the paper from becoming excessively repetitive. It usually happens that in the final documents of these sessions, things that are already taken for granted are not repeated, she explained to reporters. "I sincerely believe that the controversy around abortion was contrived. It is a controversy that did not exist in the summit, that did not exist in our discussions, precisely because there was nothing to argue about. 7 countries in the world are considered to be the wealthiest: Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, and the United States. These 7 countries are known as the G7. The G7 has meetings, forms agreements, and publishes joint comments on global events. Additionally, representatives from other nations such as Turkey, India, and Ukraine were present at the summit that Italy has been hosting in the Puglia region of the southern portion of Italy. After being informed that Ms. Meloni did not wish for the phrases abortion and reproductive rights to be included in the statement, American sources told the New York Times that U.S. President Joe Biden had resisted the request. During an interview with the Italian news agency ANSA, the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, expressed his regret that references to abortion were not included in the document. "France has a vision of equality between women and men, but it's not a vision shared by all the political spectrum," stated French President Emmanuel Macron. Ms. Meloni expressed her opinion that it was profoundly wrong for Mr. Macron to utilize the G7 conference to campaign for the next French election. She had stated that she believed this to be the case. Both Draghi and Macron are not exactly the best of friends. On the other hand, these two have collaborated on projects in addition to having problems with one another. They may be what members of Generation Z refer to as frenemies. The G7 Summit Declaration, which was the most important document issued during the 2-day summit, was the source of contention this time around. Even though the statement referred to comprehensive sexual and reproductive health and rights for all individuals, there was not a single phrase that mentioned abortion. A lack of it might be found in the text. Contrast this with the communique issued by the G7 in 2023, which makes a clear demand for access to abortion that is both safe and legal, as well as post-abortion care. Some reports stated Italy, the country that was hosting the G7 summit, was responsible for this. It has been asserted that Draghi made an effort to soften the terminology about women's rights. Now, nobody is aware of the extent to which this is true. Even though Draghi is opposed to abortion and is a member of a party that is considered to be on the far right, she has never openly questioned the right to get an abortion. Since 1978, abortion has been allowed in Italy, which is a country with a predominantly Catholic population. Even though it has not changed, access has become more difficult in recent years. All of these G7 reports have been refuted by the Italian Prime Minister at this time. Italy did not make any attempt to water down the declaration, but Macron was not going to accept it. It was a journalist from Italy who inquired about this matter, and the following is what he had to say in response. France is committed to the idea that men and women should all be treated equally. There are those on both sides of the political spectrum who do not agree with this concept. Although I am sorry about it, I respect it because it was the decision that your people made on their own accord. You have made a very interesting choice of words, particularly about the host, and there was no way that Draghi was going to let it go. In her defense of Italy, she accused Macron of engaging in political maneuvering. In her statement, she stated that he was exploiting the G7 to promote the impending elections for the French parliament. Perhaps this is the reason why she gave him such a stony look. And by Friday, the problem had become much worse. The dispute between Draghi and Macron was featured prominently in Italian newspapers. That was the only topic that everyone could talk about. Therefore, Macron attempted to repair the harm. He stated that he had no interest in causing a scandal. Whatever the case may be, the harm has already been done. Now, although the statement issued by the G7 this year does not address LGBTQ+ rights or abortion, it does refer to the declaration issued by Hiroshima the previous year, in which abortion was stated explicitly. Many believe that the absence could be attributed to the presence of Pope Francis and the stance that the Catholic Church takes about abortion. Therefore, the 51st summit of the Group of Seven G7 was held in Italy amid 2 wars, several conflicts, and a slowing global economy. The leaders of the G7 had a lot of things on which they agreed and disagreed, but it appears that the issue of abortion rights was the focal point of their disagreement. It is Meloni, who leads the far-right Brothers of Italy, Vantage, has never made a secret of her opposition to abortion. Before being appointed Prime Minister in 2022, she vowed to give the right to make a different decision to women who think abortion is the only solution. While it is technically legal in Italy, access to abortion remains patchy due to the high number of medical personnel who identify as conscientious objectors and can therefore refuse to perform them. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest content. See you in the next video.